Hello Grade 12s and welcome to this lesson on shorter transactional writing. My name is Marinda Swanepoel and I'm excited to be with you today. Let's get started. Writing and presenting consists of essay writing, longer transactional writing and shorter transactional writing, and that is going to be our focus today. Our lesson map consists of the knowledge and features of each type of text, the knowledge of how to approach each type of text, and the correct use of language, tone, register, grammar, and punctuation. By the end of the lesson, we will address understanding the features and conventions of each text, applying knowledge and how to approach each text, and using the correct language, tone, register, grammar, and of course, punctuation. Key words that you need to know are format, what a text looks like, the audience for who you're writing, the purpose of the text, and the content. Some more words that you need to know are register, style, and tone. What should you be able to do? First of all, you should be able to use the writing process. Know and apply the knowledge that you've gained about structure and features of different texts, and then apply the knowledge of paragraphs and sentence structure and punctuation. Common errors and misconceptions that we find in transactional writing include the following: using the incorrect format, incomplete answers, not answering the entire question, not following instructions. This includes at the question and the general instructions of the paper. Another problem is inappropriate tone and register according to the type of text. A big problem is responses that are too long or too short. If your responses are too long, the marker will simply not read it. If it's too short, you will penalize yourself because you won't have enough information. And the last error we're looking at are language errors. Exam writing competencies that you will need include reading skills, critical thinking skills, time management, information retrieval skills, active learning methods, and communication skills. If you apply all of these skills, you will be successful in your exam. Before we continue, let's go for a quick break. I'll see you in just a little while. Welcome back. Let's jump into the first aspect of our lesson. Shorter transactional writing, we're going to focus on the features and conventions of each type of text. Content problems include knowing all the types of short transactional texts and also understanding the features and conventions of each text. Key theory aspects across grade 10, 11 and 12 include the types of texts. There are three categories. Category A includes the advertisement, invitation, flyer and poster. These are all very similar. Category B has diary entries, short message system, SMS, and these could also include messages on WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, and other platforms. Category C only has two texts, and that would be instructions and directions, which are also very similar. This is an example from May-June 2023 of what a question would look like. Here you can see a diary entry from category B, a flyer from category A, and instructions from category C. You would then choose one of these texts. The next aspect on our lesson map is the knowledge of shorter transactional and how to approach each type of text. Content problems include identifying the audience, understanding the purpose, giving relevant content, and then applying the correct register to the specific text. Key theory aspects include reading and understanding the question, unpacking the question, and then using the question to identify the audience, tone, register required for each type of text. While we were unpacking and reading the question, we could identify certain elements. The first one of these would be the purpose. The purpose is to inform and mobilize the community for a cleanup event, promoting community spirit. The register that would be appropriate would be clear, direct, and of course motivating, with an inclusive tone so that everyone can join in. The format of a poster would include a strong headline, different font sizes, event details including date, time, and a meeting point, a call to action since you want to motivate community members to participate, and always contact information. Remember to keep the layout simple and eye-catching. A cluttered layout would be confusing. The audience for this poster would be local residents, families, and volunteers. Content might include some of the following: a catchy headline, creative language to capture the reader's attention, including figures of speech, puns, etc. Provide information about the event and always provide contact information. Here is an example of what this poster might look like. We start with a catchy headline: "Help clean up our local park." You might put this in a larger font at the top of your poster. Then you would have the content: "Join us for a community cleanup event." The use of "us" is inclusive and encourages the reader to participate. There's also detail included: Maplewood Park. Together we can create a safer and more enjoyable space for everyone to use. Again, the word "together" is inclusive. Here are some of the key details about the event. There's the date, the time, and the meeting point. All of these are requirements in a poster, and you can fill in the information with any of your own choices. Please bring gloves, rubbish bags, and a positive attitude. Let's work together to make our park a place we can all be proud of. Here is your call to action, and then always contact information. For more information or to sign up, contact John and a telephone number. End your poster with another catchy tagline: "Your help makes a difference." This will encourage and motivate the community to participate. Let's look at an example from category B, diary entries. These are very popular and very easy to write. We will unpack the question, identify key ideas and signposts so that we can apply the correct format and stylistic features. You have just adopted a new pet. Adopted and pet give us a guideline of where to go. Write 2 diary entries in which you express your feelings about the new pet. Now, there are more specific instructions. Make sure you follow the instructions. The first entry must express how you felt before bringing the pet home. The second entry must express how you felt after the pet's first week at home. These guidelines are specific and you must follow them. The purpose of writing this diary entry: the first entry would have the anticipation and excitement before bringing the pet home. The second entry would reflect on the first week with the pet, highlighting how initial feelings have changed. The register for a diary entry would be personal and reflective, using emotive language with informal and introspective tone. The format of a diary entry is very simple and easy to memorize. Always start with "Dear Diary," both D's in capital letters, on the left-hand side of the page. In the same line, add the date on the right-hand side of the page. No greeting at the end. Take note of the number of diary entries that you need to provide in the examination or the specific question. Remember to write the day and date at each entry. The audience for a diary entry would be yourself. It would be personal and reflective. The first entry, the content, would be anticipation and excitement before the arrival of the pet. You might express your thoughts on how the pet will affect your life and the preparations that you have made. The second entry's content could include reflections after a week, bonding experiences, some challenges that you might have experienced, or joys. It must show a comparison of the initial expectations in the first entry with the reality after the first week. Now let's look at an example. As you can see, Dear Diary, the format. In the same line on the right-hand side of the page is the date, 9 October 2024. And for the second entry, the same. Tomorrow is the day I bring my new dog home. I am excited. Diary entries should always include emotions and a bit anxious. I have prepared everything, but I also wonder if I will be able to handle the responsibility. I hope we will bond quickly. Simple and to the point. The second entry, you can see the dates are different, a week apart, according to the question. It has been a week with Max, and I am thrilled. Always give emotion. He is settling in wonderfully, and we are already forming a strong bond. There have been a few small challenges, but overall, I am happy with how things are going. Look at the format, make sure the tone and register is correct. Before we continue, let's take a quick ad break. I will see you in a little while. Welcome back to this lesson on shorter transactional writing. Let's continue with our process on how to approach each text. Our next example is from category C, and it is directions. Remember, while you're reading, you must unpack the question, identify key ideas so that you can apply the correct format and stylistic features. As the chairperson of your community's cultural festival, you have been tasked with giving directions to performers from out of town. The question has signposts that guide you as to how you should answer. Make sure you underline or highlight these signposts. Write the directions they should follow from the main highway exit to the cultural center where the event will take place. Be sure to include landmarks, approximate distances, and clear step-by-step instructions in your response. Note, do not include illustrations or drawings because you will not be awarded marks for any of this. The purpose of directions would be to provide clear directions for out-of-town performance to reach the cultural center easily. The register must be clear and straightforward with a helpful and welcoming tone. Let's take a look at the format of directions. Directions should be written in full sentences to ensure clarity. Provide specific instructions in the correct order. Always use the imperative form by starting with each sentence with the verb in its base form. Use landmarks, distances, and directions as stated in the question. If a map or markers are provided, refer to that and use that as a guide to write your directions. A very important point to note is that directions can be written as bullet points or in the paragraph form. The audience for this task would be out-of-town performers who are unfamiliar with the area. Content must include a starting point, landmarks, distances, turn-by-turn directions, and details about the cultural center. Let's take a look at an example. You would add a title directions to the cultural center. This example is in bullet form, but as I stated, it could be in the paragraph form. From the main highway, the question stated to start at the highway exit. Take exit 14 towards Oakville. Continue straight for 2 kilometers until you reach the second roundabout. At the roundabout, take the third exit onto Maple Street. Drive along Maple Street for about 1 kilometer. You will pass St. Andrew's Church on your left. After passing the church, turn right onto Elm Road. Continue on Elm Road for 500 meters. The Oakville Cultural Center will be on your right at 245 Elm Road. Simple, including lots of detail, distances, street names, and landmarks. The last part of our lesson today will focus on the correct use of language, tone, register, grammar, and punctuation. It is so important to communicate clearly so that the marker understands what you are trying to say. You must learn and apply the knowledge that you've gained of paragraph and sentence construction, also punctuation. Theory aspects include word choice, sentence construction, paragraph writing, and language conventions. Here is an example. I was like super nervous, and then I kind of started scribbling stuff down, but then I totally blanked out and just sits there doing nothing. This sentence is flawed in punctuation, style, tone, and grammar. A better way would be to say, I was extremely nervous, only 1 exclamation mark. I began writing things down, but then I completely lost focus and ended up just sitting there without doing anything. This sentence is not complicated or fancy. It is simple, but it is more correct than the one on top. Here are some general tips for you learners. This will help you in your overall performance of writing. First of all, manage your time effectively. The guideline for writing shorter transactional texts is 30 minutes. This is more than enough time for you to read, analyze, unpack the question, use the writing process, and then write a successful piece of writing. You must study all formats. If you know all of the formats, you will have the ability to choose any one of the 3 options that are provided in the exam paper. Understand the purpose of each transactional text. These 2 points go together. When you're studying the format, you will also study the purpose. Always ensure that you have a clear understanding of the topic. Ensure that you have a clear understanding of the topic. If there are words that you don't understand, do not choose that question. Move on to a next question. Choose wisely. Make sure that you write according to your strengths. If you study all of the formats, you will be able to choose any option, and that would be to your strengths. Be sincere in your writing and write from your own experiences. Transactional writing is very literal, and it is something that you can use in everyday life. So, writing from your own experience just makes sense. You may use descriptive language. Now, you might not be able to be as creative as in the essay, but you can still use descriptive language to make your writing more impactful. Structure your writing logically. Make sure that it makes sense. This will happen in the editing or in the revising phase of writing. Revision or editing is not just for spelling, it's also to make sure that your writing makes sense. Keep the content appropriate. Focus on the question, answer what is asked, and add detail to the information already given in the question. Keep your content appropriate and stay on topic. This lesson has been on shorter transactional texts. We focused on your knowledge and on the features and conventions of each type of text, how to approach each type of shorter transactional text, and how to use simple language to communicate your ideas, including the correct use of language, tone, register, and grammar and punctuation. Let's jump in with our first practice question. We are doing a poster, and this poster is from the May-June 2022 question paper. This was question 3.1. When we're reading our question, we should always look out for signposts that will guide us in our writing. We unpack the question, identifying key ideas so that we can apply the correct format and stylistic features for each text. Your family has decided to start a vegetable garden. Important aspects are your family and vegetable garden in the community. You would like other community members to become involved in this project. The vegetables will be donated to a local school. Write the content of the poster that will inform the community of how to become involved in this project. A very important thing to note is that do not include illustrations or drawings because you will not be credited for this. When we're unpacking the poster, we should identify some of the following things. The poster is on a vegetable garden project. It must include details about the vegetable garden project. Sufficient details must be given to inform members of the community to become involved in the vegetable garden project. Include catchy words and phrases that will get you marks. Again, no marks for illustrations or drawings. Let's take a look at an example. Now yours might be very different to this, but this is just a guideline. We start with a headline on the poster. Join us in growing a community vegetable garden. The word us includes the community and makes your writing more inclusive. Our family is starting a vegetable garden and we need your help. Here is a call to action. All vegetables grown will be donated to the local school. It's very important to give this information as it is part of the question. This is to support healthy meals for the children. How you can get involved. So there are 2 bullets here. You can volunteer, help us with planting, watering, and harvesting. Or donate supplies, contribute seeds, tools, or compost. Other important details that are included is the meeting point, Oak Park Community Centre, the day, Saturdays, every Saturday at 9 a.m. For more information, call and there's a telephone number. Always include contact details on your poster. End with a catchy punchline to motivate the community to join. Let's grow together and make a difference. Let's look at another example of a poster. This one is from November 2018 and it was question 3.1. Remember to unpack the question and identify key ideas while you're reading. The elderly in your community require assistance with shopping and other chores. You have decided to create a poster for distribution in your community, offering your services to the elderly. Write the content of the poster. As always, do not include illustrations or drawings because you will not get marks for this. What should be included in the poster? First of all, the focus is that it is a service to the elderly. The following aspects should be included in the poster, among others: an eye-catching headline or slogan, catchy words or phrases, sufficient details of the services offered, and of course, contact details of the person offering the service. The language may be formal or informal, but no slang and no colloquial language. Always never use contractions. Note, do not award marks for illustrations or drawings, so don't waste your time on drawing pictures. Let's look at an example. Start with a catchy headline. Need help with shopping or household chores? There's a rhetorical question. I am here to assist you with grocery shopping, errands, light cleaning, meal preparation. So a list of the services as required. I am reliable, friendly, and dedicated to making your daily tasks easier. If you or someone you know could use these services, please get in touch. Then there's contact detail, contact Daniel, and a phone number. You can also add a catchy tagline at the end of your poster. Your comfort and convenience are my priorities. Let me help make your life a little bit easier. Moving on to our next example from category B, the diary entry. Always unpack and highlight the key ideas. Your relative, whom you have not seen in a number of years, has recently contacted you. He or she wishes to meet with you soon. Write a diary entry in which you describe your feelings after the meeting. When you look at the solution, the diary entry must take place after the meeting. There must be only one diary entry. As always, the date and time must be reflected. The entry must describe or express your feelings after meeting the relative. It must be written in the first person, and the language must be simple and informal. The tone must reflect suitable emotions. Let's take a look at an example. Dear Diary, the format is there, Dear and Diary in capital letters, the day, month and year, and very simply you start writing. Today, I met my cousin after several years. The question said relative. You can add more information and specify, like this example, my cousin. The reunion was both surprising and pleasant. We see some emotions. Although we had not seen each other for a long time, there was an immediate sense of familiarity. We spent the day catching up and sharing stories. At first, there was a bit of awkwardness, but it soon turned into a warm and enjoyable conversation. I feel excited after the meeting. I hope this will lead to more regular contact and help strengthen our relationship. Narrating the details but also giving emotion. That is how simple a diary entry is. Before we continue with our next example, we're going to go for a quick ad break. I'll see you in a little while. Welcome back, learners, to this lesson on shorter transactional writing. Let's continue with our examples. The next example is also the diary entry. This is from November 2018, question 3.2. And what sets this apart from the previous example is that in this case, it is diary entries, so there are more than one. Remember to unpack and identify key ideas so that you can apply the correct format and also write clear and concise sentences. You have decided to work overseas and must inform your family about your decision. Write 2 diary entries expressing how you felt. One entry must reflect how you felt before and the other after you informed them of your decision. There are some clear guidelines and signposts in this question that you must follow to give a successful piece of writing. This is what would be expected, your feelings before and after informing your family. There must be 2 diary entries with 2 different dates or times. The entries must express your feelings before and after informing your family. The entries, as always, should be written in the first person. The language must be simple and informal, and the tone must reflect suitable emotions. Now let's take a look at an example. As you can see, we have the format Dear and Diary with capital letters. In the same line on the right-hand side, we have the date, 20 October 2024, and the first entry describing the feelings before. I am feeling quite anxious about telling my family that I've decided to work overseas. The thought of their reaction worries me. I know they will be concerned about the distance and the changes this decision will bring. I hope they will understand that this is an important step for my career and personal growth. The second diary, again, we apply the format just like in the first entry. I have told my family about my decision to work abroad. They were initially surprised, but after discussing it, they expressed their support. They still have concerns, but they understand my reasons and wish me well. I feel relieved and encouraged. Remember to always include emotions in your diary entry. The next example we're going to look at is from category C, and this is the directions from May-June 2022, question 3.3. We follow the same guidelines, we unpack, we identify key ideas so we can apply the correct format and stylistic features. A delivery company has a parcel for you. The manager of this company has called you requesting directions from the local community hall to your home. Write the directions that you will give to the manager. Your response must include landmarks, distances in kilometers, and specific directions. As always, there is a note that says do not include illustrations or drawings. The directions must be from the community hall to your house. They may be in point form or in paragraph form, whichever you choose. Complete sentences are not necessary. Directions must always be in the correct order. Approximate distances in kilometers, as in the questions. Directions must always include landmarks and signposts. Again, no marks for illustrations or drawings. Let's look at an example. As you can see, this example is written in paragraph form. Directions to my home. Start at the local community hall on Maple Street. As the question stated, that is where you must start. Turn left onto Oak Avenue. Whenever you give a turn, you must always include the street name. Continue straight for 1 kilometer. You will pass the Greenfield Primary School on your right. At the traffic lights, turn right onto Elm Road. Continue on Elm Road for 2 kilometers until you reach a large blue sign for Oak Ridge Estate. Turn left into Oak Ridge Estate and follow the road for 500 meters. My house is number 12, the second house on the right, just past the small park with a fountain. The directions are clear, they're in logical order and include street names and distances. The next example will also be on directions, and this is from November 2018, question 3.2. We're unpacking the question, identifying the key ideas so we can apply the correct format and write clear and concise sentences. Now let's read the question. Your neighbor needs to visit a new clinic that has been built in your area. Write the directions that he or she will need to get to the clinic from his or her home. Remember, they are one of your neighbors, so they live close to you. You must include landmarks, distances, and specific directions in your response. Do not include illustrations or drawings because you will not be awarded marks for that. The directions to the clinic should include the following. It could be in point or paragraph form. Complete sentences are not necessary. Directions must always be in the correct chronological order. Approximate distances, turns, and landmarks must be included, and again, no marks for illustrations or drawings. Now let's take a look at the example. To reach the new clinic from your home, follow these directions. As you can see, here the directions are numbered. Exit your house and turn left onto Elm Street. When you include a turn, also include a street name. Walk straight for about 500 meters until you reach the main crossroad. At the crossroad, turn right onto Maple Avenue. Continue on Maple Avenue for 300 meters. You will pass the community park on your right. The clinic is located on the left just after the grocery store, which is a further 200 meters. The clinic is a modern building with large glass windows. It should be easy to find, simple and to the point. Before we continue our lesson, let's take a quick break. I will see you in just a little bit. Welcome back, Grade 12s, to this lesson on shorter transactional writing. Let's look at a few general tips that will help you create successful pieces of writing. The first tip is to manage your time effectively. The suggested time allocation for shorter transactional writing is 30 minutes. This will give you more than enough time to read the question, unpack the question, and provide a successful piece of writing. The next tip is to study all formats. If you know all of the shorter transactional formats, you will be able to answer any question that is given to you in the exam paper. This also gives you the benefit of choice. Ensure that you understand the purpose of each transactional text. Ensure a clear understanding of the topic. When you read the question, ensure that you understand the entire question and the individual words. If there is anything that you don't understand, please do not choose that question because you will not be able to answer it in its entirety and successfully. Always choose wisely. Write according to your strengths. Be sincere in your writing. Don't try to make up silly ideas. Write from your own experiences. Transactional writing is very literal and from everyday experiences. So why not use your own experiences in your writing? You may also use descriptive language. This is not a descriptive essay, but you can use descriptive writing to enhance what you are saying. Always structure your writing logically, revise thoroughly. When you are editing, make sure that your writing makes sense, that it's in a logical sequence. Editing or the revising phase of writing is not just for spelling, it's to look at all aspects of your writing. Always keep the content appropriate, ensure that you stay on topic, focus on the question, and keep your content relevant and appropriate. Writing and presenting consists of essay writing, longer transactional writing, but our focus today has been on shorter transactional writing. The focus should be on your knowledge of features and conventions of each type of text, on how to approach each text, and then using the correct language, tone, register grammar, and punctuation. Key words that you must keep in mind, Grade 12s, include format, the audience, who you're writing for, the purpose, why you are writing, the content, what you are writing, of course taking those signposts from the question, the register, how formal your writing should be, the style, that of course is your own style of writing, and the tone, which is the writer's attitude towards a certain topic. Common errors and misconceptions relating to shorter transactional writing include the following. Incorrect format. It is essential that you apply the correct format to the text provided. Formatting errors are penalized, and most of the shorter transactional formats are very simple to remember. Another big problem is incomplete answers. When you're reading the question, make sure that you highlight and underline those key ideas, those signposts. That will guide you towards what you should answer. Ensure that your answers are complete, that you elaborate by inserting detail of your own, and that will ensure that you have successful pieces of writing. Always follow the instructions. There are instructions for the entire paper, there are instructions at each question, and there are also instructions within the transactional writing question. Follow them to a T. Another problem is inappropriate tone and register. Now, when you study the formats and requirements of the texts, ensure that you understand the tone and register required for each piece. Ensure that your responses stay within the word limit provided. Responses that are too long will simply be ignored. The markers will not read past the word limit. And if your responses are too short, you will penalize yourself because your writing will lack the detail that is required on a grade 12 level. Then, language errors. Be careful in your writing. Use the time given to you by the examiners. Spend time on creating simple sentences that are clear in their meaning and that send the ideas that you want to give. Key writing competencies, exam writing competencies that will help you be successful in your exam include reading skills. Read the questions, take your time, ensure that you understand every question. Your critical thinking skills. Make sure that you understand, that you can unpack the question. Of course, time management that we just spoke about. Ensure that you stick within the guidelines provided, that you finish all pieces. Then information retrieval that goes with the reading skills. Make sure that you take the information given to you in the brief or the question and use that as a guide to create successful writing pieces. Communication skills. Clearly state your ideas so that the marker, the reader, can understand what you wanted to say to them. And then active learning methods. Take the knowledge that you've gained over the past years in high school and in primary school and apply that knowledge to the context of the specific question. I have a few practice questions for you. You can go to past papers. It's the best way. Practice makes perfect, grade 12s. You can use grade 12, November 2023, question 3.3. From May-June 2023 is question 3.1. November 2021, question 3.3. June and May-June paper, question 3.3. From November 2020, there are two questions, 3.1 and 3.3. November 2019, you can practice question 3.1, and then the May-June 2019 paper, question 3.2. If you use past papers and practice, you will be successful in your exams. Thank you so much for joining me, grade 12s. I hope that you will apply all of these ideas in your exam and that it will help you to be successful. Remember to stay on topic, to read the question carefully, to unpack the information, use those signposts to guide you in your writing, and always revise. Use clear sentences that convey the meaning. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope to see you soon.